Hello, everyone. Welcome to my stream. Welcome to those who are watching live, and to anyone who is part of the replay crew. If you can hear a digger in the background, that is because there is a digger in the background. So you were right on the money with that one, assuming that is what your guess was initially. We've got a little bit of construction going on outside. We're putting in a spa pool, which is going to be lovely in the middle of the winter that we are currently having here in Queenstown, New Zealand. So the purpose of today's stream is to have a look at one of the xfiles videos on a secret 10-year mission to an alien planet 40 light years away. I do believe I actually referenced this in my live stream yesterday, although I didn't realize that I was talking about the same thing when I talked about people claiming that the US government is trading technology for humans or something of the likes. I don't actually know for sure what the actual story is, because I am part of the modern younger generation and we really cannot be bothered having things take bloody forever. I'm going to be watching the video at 1.5 times the speed. If you would like to watch the video at the normal speed, well then there is always going to the xfiles YouTube channel and watching the video there. I would recommend doing that anyway, because the xfiles is bloody awesome. Anyway, let's do this thingy. So give me one moment. Switch to this. Established titles. I'm surprised. Oh wait a minute. This is an older video, of course. This is before the whole established titles debacle. So anyway, let's do this thingy.
Today's episode of the xfiles is brought to you by Established Titles. What if you were offered the opportunity to visit another planet? You'd get to experience the culture of an alien race, explore a new world, see and use technology that's 5,000 years ahead of ours. Would you do it? Well, before you answer, there are a few catches. You'll be gone at least 10 years, and when you return to Earth, all evidence of your existence will be erased. You have to start a new life, with a new identity, forbidden to tell anyone about what you experienced.
Sorry.
Now would you do it? Well, before you answer, there are a few catches. You'll be gone at least... Today's episode of the xfiles is brought to you by Established Titles. What if you were offered the opportunity to visit another planet? You'd get to experience the culture of an alien race, explore a new world, see and use technology that's 5,000 years ahead of ours. Would you do it? Well, before you answer, there are a few catches. You'll be gone at least 10 years, and when you return to Earth, all evidence of your existence will be erased. You have to start a new life, with a new identity, forbidden to tell anyone about what you experienced. Now would you do it? Well,
Yeah, possibly. No, actually, I quite like my life here on Earth. Also, guessing there's probably catches, so let's find out what the catches. I mean, then again, they might put us back in our own current time, so it might feel like I'm gone for years and then I'm back at current modern day. So, I know, let's find out whether or not it's worthwhile going to some alien planet to do whatever they're going to do.
1965, 12 astronauts were sent to an alien planet as part of a human-alien exchange program. 13 years later, they returned home. Well, most of them did. The mission commander wrote a 3,000-page report of everything the team experienced. First alien contact, the 40-light-year trip to the alien world, and everything that happened on the planet. This is the true story of Project Serpo.
For anyone that hasn't watched the xfiles, they always present the videos as truth and factual for the first sort of half to 3/4 of it, and then they go through and absolutely obliterate the beginning part of the video, unless of course it's something that they can't quite obliterate so easily. They had one recently on AI technologies and where that could go, and yeah, it was not really a debunking video as such, because it was more just exploring the possibilities of AI. So it wasn't a here's the facts and then here's why it's all bullshit. It's like here's what could most likely happen and oh fuck. Anyway, oh, I'm too early for an oh fuck. Oh fuck. Actually, you know what? I'm not too early for an oh fuck, because I'm not monetized. Hey.
When Colonel McKeever of the United States Air Force arrived at Fort Leavenworth, he was excited, but he didn't have much information. All he knew is that he was selected from hundreds of candidates to command the most important space mission in the history of the human race. That's quite a description. Naturally, he asked for details about the mission, but was told he would be briefed during training. McKeever did know the mission was going to be long, 10 years, plus almost a year for training and another year in quarantine at the end of the mission. So 12 years away from home. It was 1965, so he wouldn't be back until the late 70s. Now, for most people, this would be difficult, but McKeever had no relatives, no wife, no kids, and very few friends. His life was the Air Force. As far as he was concerned, he could leave for 12 years or 20. It was all the same to him. And that was a good thing because another condition of the mission is that he was to be sheep-dipped.
Sheep-dipped?
Well, sheep-dipped is an intelligence term used to describe identities that are made to disappear. All records, military, civilian, school records, Social Security, DMV, IRS, it's like you never existed.
No, I wouldn't mind disappearing from the IRS.
I understand that.
Taxes are theft!
Colonel McKeever parked his car and was met...
I wonder if that's actually a thing. I don't know how you could quite completely obliterate someone's existence. Although I suppose there are enough homeless people out there who seem to have absolutely no one that cares for them. So if one of those people disappeared off the face of the earth without a trace, then yeah, I guess that's reasonable. Don't know about someone who has a career and people know him.
Met by a young military police officer. After exchanging salutes, they walked in silence to an office building at the edge of the base. The outside of the building was nondescript, painted that gray, green, beige color that the military used for everything. The inside of the building was very different, though. As a colonel, McKeever had been in plenty of secure buildings, but nothing like this. Metal detectors, cameras everywhere, armed guards posted in every hallway. McKeever's escort motioned to an elevator. McKeever asked, "You're not coming with me?" The young man said no, he didn't have clearance. He saluted and the elevator doors closed. McKeever felt the elevator taking him several stories down. He noticed there were no buttons in the elevator, no indication of the number of floors. The elevator doors opened, and another young man was waiting. McKeever noticed his badge said Air Force Office of Special Investigations. As far as Colonel McKeever knew, OSI was a law enforcement agency. He had no idea what they would be doing here, but he knew not to ask. McKeever entered the briefing room, which looked like a classroom. There were 11 people seated. He saw 2 Army uniforms, 2 Navy, and the rest were Air Force. At the front of the room was another Air Force colonel that McKeever didn't recognize, who told him to take a seat. The other colonel said to the group, "What I'm about to show you is classified beyond top secret. There are fewer than 60 people in the world who know this information. If you repeat what you learn here today, you'll be charged with treason. Understood?" The group nodded slowly, clearly aware of the weight of the situation. The colonel pulled down a screen.
More like murdered and have their bones fucking crushed to be fed to the aliens.
And called to someone to get the lights. On the screen, a black and white film began to play. The first few seconds were the typical warnings about unauthorized viewing and other disclaimers that Colonel McKeever had seen 1,000 times. The footage showed what appeared to be the desert at night, though it was hard to tell. The footage seemed to be 20 years old. Then a title came on the screen that McKeever didn't expect. It read, Roswell, New Mexico, 1947, First Contact.
Oh yeah?
The film lasted about an hour and left everyone in the room stunned. They had heard of Roswell and the supposed UFO crash. The Air Force said it was a weather balloon, and that explanation was good enough for McKeever. The film explained that the UFO crash in Roswell did happen, though technically the crash was in Corona, New Mexico. And 2 years later, in 1949, another UFO crashed nearby. Now, this was something McKeever didn't know, and there was footage of the Roswell recovery. At first, it was difficult to understand what he was looking at. It was clearly metal wreckage, but it could have been a plane for all McKeever knew. Then he saw it. Hiding behind a rock was an alien. It looked like aliens look in science fiction movies. Short, pale skin, large head with huge black eyes, small nose and mouth. The military called this creature Extraterrestrial Biological Entity 1, or EBA-1. EBA-1 was the lone survivor of the crash. 5 other...
You know, with all of the different people who have these kind of experiences where they see aliens, they do, a lot of them describe them as quite similar. I mean, obviously there is the different types that are described. You've got the insectoids, the lizard people, the greys, and then there's been other things that have been described as like mechanical or light. Obviously there is also the possibility that if or whatever people are encountering, if they are encountering, that it seems that their experiences are somewhat projected into their own heads, and so whoever or whatever it is or whatever's going on, it'd be more than possible for them to just get people to see what they want people to see. And if people have an idea of what they are expecting to see, well then it would be just makes sense to make everyone see the same kind of thing.
Other alien bodies were taken away. There was also footage of the 1949 crash. It was a similar craft, silver, saucer-shaped, and there were 6 bodies there and no survivors. EBA-1 was taken to the Air Force facility at Los Alamos, and according to the briefing, he stayed there until his death in 1952. The Air Force learned a great deal from EBA-1 in those 5 years. At first, communication was difficult. EBA-1's language was comprised of tones, not words, but through hand gestures and repetition.
Pretty sure. I've seen another video where they break down, or they're looking into the footage by this recordings of this EBA-1 being interviewed, and based on some of the forensics that have been done on the footage, it is real footage. However, of course, you can obviously have real footage and have someone in an alien suit. Seems like they kind of a bit of a extra step to do, just for the sake of making some fake video in the 1960s, especially with it matching up very well with exactly how a creature would react. But yeah, also this could be a completely different one. I don't know. Let's find out.
EVA 1 was able to communicate. He said that his race, which the military called the Evens, had been visiting Earth for 2,000 years. On this trip, something caused his ship to crash. EVA 1 suspected it was radar, which was a technology his people didn't have. Some equipment was salvaged from EVA 1's craft, specifically a communication device. EVA 1 offered to share this technology if the military would allow him to repair it so he could contact his people. Of course, the military agreed. EVA 1 was...
ET phone home thing? So, is this what that's based on? ET phone home.
Was able to get the communicator working again and sent several messages but never received a reply. And this could have been due to a number of reasons. EVA 1's home planet, which the military called Serpo, was in the Zeta Reticulans system, almost 40 light years from Earth. The Evens used wormhole technology to travel and send messages back and forth. After EVA 1 died in 1952, the Air Force tried but was unable to reverse engineer other alien technology. But they did have a working communicator, so the Air Force continued to send messages for years. The persistence paid off. Eventually, they received a reply, and two-way communication between Earth and Serpo continued for a long time. The Evens even learned to speak broken English. After learning about the crashes, the Evens wanted their crew's bodies back, but the military, being the military, wanted something in exchange.
Let me guess, they wanted technology.
Yep, but the Evens said it would be too dangerous to give humans their technology.
I could have told them that.
So the Evens suggested a compromise. The military would return the bodies of the alien crew. In exchange, an Even would come to Earth and assist the US Army, and 12 humans could spend 10 years on planet Serpo. This became known as Project Serpo, though its actual name is Project Crystal Knight. And so began the...
I do wonder why the aliens would be so desperate to get the bodies back. Pretty sure if we lost a couple of humans on the other side of the galaxy, we would just go, fuck it. But, you know, people do strange things.
The first intergalactic exchange program in history. The training was intense and long, a year. Colonel McKeever thought Special Forces had a difficult training program, but it was nothing like this. There were the usual physical exercises and classroom training. They trained in survival, escape and evasion techniques, weapons, explosives, and intelligence gathering. They also learned about even history and even biology. But there was aggressive and invasive psychological training and testing. McKeever remembered one unusually difficult exercise designed to test the team's ability to cope with isolation and confined spaces. Team members were buried 7 feet underground, one at a time, in a 7 by 5 foot box for
I could do that.
5 days. No lights, no way to communicate. Only a small air hole and food and water. Everybody passed this test, but some people really struggled with it.
Oh, come on. 5 by 7 feet is a palace. Grow up here.
During training, McKeever got to know his team. There were scientists, linguists, pilots, 2 doctors, and a security officer. They all received general training and training geared toward their specialty. For example, the pilots were taught how to fly an Even aircraft. This was surprisingly easy and apparently a lot of fun. The Evens returned to Earth in 1964 to retrieve the bodies. This happened at Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico. And there's actually footage of that landing. About a year later, in July 1965, the team traveled to Groom Lake, near Area 51, for the landing. At 6 a.m., the Even ship landed. Several Evens came out to meet the team of 12 and about 16 military officials. The human team was allowed to bring whatever they needed for the stay. They brought 40 tons of gear, including 10 motorcycles and 3 jeeps. Everything was easy.
Give me just one moment. I just want to see why this video is lagging. I mean, it could just be the fact that I have it on faster speeds, but it could also just be something else. Give me one moment. That's seemingly better.
Tons of gear, including 10 motorcycles and 3 jeeps. Everything was easily loaded using anti-gravity technology. Now, lucky for us, McKeever was ordered to keep diary.
Okay, we loaded everything and it fits, but we have to transfer all of it to the bigger ship once we get to the rendezvous point. Really excited about this. No reservations by anyone. The training commander asked all members to make a final decision. The team, all set, go. We go. Interior of EVA craft is big. There are 3 levels. This is different than the one we trained on. I think that was a scout craft. This one is a shuttle craft.
The shuttle flew into a large ship. McKeever wrote that the shuttle bay ceiling was about 100 feet high. It would take almost 10 months to get to Serpo. The human team was escorted to the area where they would be spending the next 270 days. Each team member was assigned a small pod, each with a single chair. No seatbelts or harnesses. McKeever was surprised that gravity was consistent. He was expecting to be weightless. Then he saw a light panel change from white to red. He assumed this meant they were moving. His eyes became blurry, the room started to spin, and then he blacked out.
Pretty certain that a alien civilization that could go could travel 40 light years in whatever time frame they're about to do it in, could definitely master anti-gravity. I feel like they would be interconnected technologies.
The journey was difficult. The human team spent a large part of 10 months sick. They would often become dizzy and sometimes physically ill. During one part of the journey, an even gave the humans a cloudy liquid that tasted like chalk, and a cookie or a biscuit that had no taste at all. But when they ate it, they felt better almost instantly. After a while, the human team was allowed to move around the ship.
They had lambda bread. The EVs have lambda bread.
We were able to walk around the ship, but it's so large, it's difficult to understand how such a large ship can move so fast. 633 wants to see the engines. Our guide takes 4 of us to the engine room, or whatever they wish to call the room. It contains large, very large metal containers. They are in a circle, with the ends of each pointing into the center. Many pipes or some type of large tubes connects them. In the center of these containers is a copper-colored coil, or something looking like a coil. There's a bright light being shined from a point above into the center of the coil. We hear a very dull hum, but no major loud sounds. 661 thinks it is a negative matter versus positive matter system.
One day, toward the end of the journey, McKeever got out of his pod and asked the assistant commander, team member 203, to round up the team.
203?
Yep.
What is a negative matter versus positive matter system? I'm assuming something to do with antimatter and matter, and how the combination of those two forms of matter causes insane releases of energy, maybe? I don't know. Hit me up in the comments if you know the answer to that.
Team members were now required to refer to each other by their number and not their name.
Oh, because they were dipped in the sheep thing?
Sheep dipped. So 203 rounds up the team, but there's a problem. One of the pilots, team member 308, is missing. McKeever asks what happened to 308. One of the Evens says, Earthman not alive.
Uh-oh.
McKeever asks to see him, but the Evens say that's not possible. The security officer, team member 899, says, I'm going to get the guns. Part of the gear the human team brought included weapons. They were each issued a rifle, they had handguns, they also had grenades and C4 explosives. 899 begins to...
Why would they need guns and explosives and whatnot? Okay.
Storm off when a female Even, who speaks very good English, says please no guns. She explains that 308's body is in quarantine until they can figure out what happened. The Evens allow the human doctors 700 and 754 to examine the body. They determine 308 died from an embolism, but the Evens want him to remain quarantined. McKeever agrees as long as 308 can be given a proper burial on Serpo. Not long after that, the humans are instructed to return to their pods and prepare for landing, which they do. There must be something about jumping in and out of a wormhole that's hard on human anatomy, because McKeever blacks out again.
Boy, this guy really can't hold his wormhole.
6 hours later, his pod opens and his team walks to the door. Slowly, the door opens. The door opens and bright light washes into the craft. The team members were issued heavy-duty sunglasses, like those worn during nuclear bomb tests. They quickly put them on. The first thing McKeever noticed was the heat. He asked one of the scientists, team member 633, to check the temperature. 107 degrees Fahrenheit. The landscape is barren. There are hills in the distance, but no vegetation. Just soil and rock and blue sky above. McKeever thinks it looks like Arizona or New Mexico. One major difference, 2 suns in the sky. McKeever's report supposedly has several thousand photographs and even film. Unfortunately, these haven't been leaked, except for one photo.
For anyone who is watching from not United States, they're 107 degrees Fahrenheit is nearly 42 degrees Celsius, so it is pretty bloody hot. I am interested as to why they need, well, I mean, obviously, I can understand why they would need these glasses, but also the aliens they described have giant eyes, which usually mean that they are more adapted to dark things or dark places, so it kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Photo, the 2 suns of Serpo. Serpo is in the Zeta Reticuli binary star system. Because of its 2 suns, Serpo is never in complete darkness. According to the report, Serpo has one main sun that the planet orbits, the second sun is farther away. A large number of Evens have gathered for the arrival. They're all a little over 4 feet tall, and the human team can't really tell them apart unless they're wearing different clothing. A female Even, who they designate Eba2, introduces herself as translator and guide. The human team is escorted through an Even village to where they'll be staying. And for a technologically advanced species, the way the Evens live appears somewhat primitive. There are only about 650,000 Evens on the planet who live in small communities. At the center of each community is a large tower about 300 feet high. On top of the tower is what looks like a mirror. The humans learn that this tower is how Evens tell time. This was a difficult adjustment because the Even day is 40 hours long, not 24. And with there never being darkness, it was hard to adapt their schedules. Even families were similar to Earth's, typically a female and a male with 2 children. Families were only allowed to have 2 children, and children were rarely seen. They mature very quickly and are isolated while they're young. The Even homes were small domes that reminded the team of adobe houses in the Southwest. The humans finally arrive at their accommodations.
EBA-2 leads us to a series of huts, looking like Adobe-style houses. There were 4. Behind them is an underground room or storage area. It is built into the ground, underground. We have to walk down a ramp. The doors look like military igloos that store our atomic bombs in Earth. All our gear taken off the spaceship is stored there. We walked down into this area. Very large room. Very cool. A lot cooler. We might have to sleep here. All our gear is there. 16 pallets of gear. This igloo is made up of something like concrete, but not the same texture. Feels like soft rubber, but still hard. The floor is made up of the same stuff. There are lights in the ceiling. Looks like spotlights. They have electricity.
Each home was equipped with an electrical device that looks like a small piece of plexiglass.
The they also can travel across 40 light years in record time. I'm pretty confident that electricity is low on the list of the things that they can do.
No matter what's connected to it, the device outputs the correct amount of voltage. These devices could power a small handheld radio or an entire home without a problem. Supposedly, one of these devices was recovered from Roswell, but scientists haven't been able to reverse engineer this technology.
Allegedly.
Right. Now that they're finally on the planet, McKeever requests the body of team member 308 so they can give him a proper burial. EVA 1 takes McKeever to a building that looks like a medical facility. An even doctor meets them at the door. He speaks English almost perfectly. McKeever says he wants 308's body. The even doctor's confused. He says you can't have him. McKeever says, give us our man or we'll take him by force. EVA 2 jumps in. She says it's not that they don't want to return 308's body, it's that they can't. The doctor confirms this and says, we're using him. McKeever asks what he means. The doctor casually says, well, we're cloning him and using him to create hybrids. Obviously, cloning a member of the team without permission was a problem, but McKeever heard the doctor out. On even, it was considered a great honor to donate your body to science for experiment.
I'm still not on board with the idea that these alien species would allow the fucking humans to bring weapons with them. It just doesn't really stand up to logical thinking.
And cloning. McKeever doubted he could do much about the situation. The Ebens were peaceful, but they did have a military. If they wanted to put the humans in prison, or worse, McKeever knew there wasn't much he could do about it.
We were only 11 military personnel. We had no way of fighting the Ebens. We did not come 40 light years to start a war with the Ebens. A war we could not win. We could not even win a simple fist fight with Ebens.
That's my point exactly. Why would you go 40 light years and take weapons with you? Why would you be allowed to take weapons with you if you were actually on this mission? Anyway.
Even if we could, what then?
So with the help of EVA 2, the doctor agrees that 308's body will not be used anymore. Not that it mattered much. The doctor said all of 308's blood, organs, tissue, and everything was used to create new creatures. McKeever said, show me. In a small anti-gravity aircraft, the human team was flown to a laboratory facility. The inside of the building was completely white. There were a lot of Ebens walking around all wearing blue clothing. And when they were brought to the first lab,
there were rolls of containers looking like glass bathtubs. Inside each bathtub were bodies. I was shocked, as were 700 and 754. Bodies. Strange-looking bodies. Not human bodies, at least not all of them. We started walking down the space between the tubs. We looked into the tubs. These were hideous-looking creatures. The first creature I see inside the tub looks like a porcupine. It appears to have a tube placed inside of it. The tube leads to a box underneath the tub. The next creature looks like nothing I can compare it to. It has blood-red skin, 2 spots in the middle, maybe eyes, no arms or legs. It had a very strange odor. The next creature was human-like, but the skin was white. Not skin white, the color white. The skin was wrinkled. The head was large with 2 eyes, 2 ears, and a mouth. The neck was very small. The head looked almost as if it sat on the lower torso. The chest was thin, with large bone-like protrusions. The arms were curled with hands, but no thumbs. The legs were also curled with feet, but only 3 toes. I couldn't look at any more creatures.
Next, they went to what the doctor...
Sounds like they might have a few issues with the cloning. For the people who have just jumped on the stream, if you're wondering why this here sounds bloody fast, it is because it is bloody fast. I am from the ADHD crowd, and watching things on normal speed is just absolutely mind-numbing. However, if you would like to watch the original video at its normal speed, then just search the title that you see there, Secret Tenure Mission to an Alien Planet, done by the Y-Files, and check out the rest of his videos. They are pretty cool.
Called a growing room. Here they use parts of different species, including parts of the dead human, to create new species.
EVA 2 said that parts of the blood and other organs are used to mix a substance that's placed inside the bodies. That was all EVA 2 could explain in English. They were breathing. They looked like humans, most of them. 2 of the beings on the end looked like humans with dog heads. These beings were not awake. They were either sleeping or drugged.
They finally arrived at a growing chamber that contained an entity that was created using parts of 308's body.
I was shocked. This being, with our teammates' blood and cells, looked like a large Eben, but the hands and legs were similar to humans. How could they have grown this being so quick? Obviously, this is well above our intelligence. I saw all I wanted to see. I told the doctor that we would like to leave. EVA 2 saw that I was upset and touched my hand. Instantly, I felt concern. We traveled outside this building, a building that I did not wish to see again. I saw the dark side of this civilization. The Ebens are not the humane civilization we thought they were.
Because of the misunderstanding...
What did you expect? Going to some random alien planet and having no clue, my dude. Also, I feel like if there really is a human hybridization program going on, that this is a over-the-top, convoluted way to do it. Just do the thing that all other aliens do and just abduct people and then probe them and take the human seed that lives out the butthole
understanding of even time, the 10-year mission was actually 13 years. During that time, McKeever and his team learned a lot about even culture. Even life was very regimented. As children mature, they're tested for aptitude and placed in jobs to which they're most suited. All Evens work part of the day, they rest part of the day, and even pray part of the day, though the team never could figure out what kind of religion or spiritual beliefs they had. All manufacturing took place away from the Even homes. Same with agriculture. Evens grew all their food hydroponically. The human team had taken about 2 years worth of food with them, and when that ran out, they tried to get accustomed to Even food, which wasn't easy. Everything tasted like paper or chalk.
Ooh, it sounds like they learned how to cook for my second wife. Her cooking was terrible.
How bad was it?
Her cooking was so bad, we prayed after the meal.
Good one.
No, I tell you, her cooking was bad.
How bad was it?
Her cooking was so bad, the flies shipped in for a screen door. Ooh, her cooking was bad.
How bad was it?
Her cooking was so bad, I left dental floss in the kitchen, and all the roaches hung themselves. I got 1 million of them.
Evens are vegetarian, but the humans wanted meat, and there were animals on the planet.
As I mentioned before, the Evens allowed us to kill the beasts for meat. The meat isn't really bad. $8.99 says it tastes like bear, which I never ate.
I can't really imagine plants anywhere tasting like paper. I mean, I've tasted my fair share of leaves. Sometimes when you get hungry, you just want to eat a leaf. And if they don't taste like paper, they might taste fucking disgusting, but not paper.
But Evens look at us very strange when we eat meat. They allow us to do just about anything we want, and eating meat is something we need for the protein. We use the last of our salt and pepper, which does make eating their food more of a challenge. The Evens don't have anything similar. They do have an herb, as we call it, something like oregano, which they use. It has a tart taste, but we have developed a taste for it.
The Evens don't use money. All Evens are required to work their assigned job and contribute to the community. There was a council of governors that controlled every single activity and every minute detail of the Evens' lives. Food, clothing, furniture, everything is supplied. The Evens go to a central distribution center and make a request, and we're given anything that they need.
You know, I notice every time we do an alien story, they turn out to be hippie communists.
Or maybe it's a better way of life.
Oh yeah, better for the people in charge.
The humans noticed they were getting a heavy dose of radiation from the two suns, and the heat was unbearable. It was consistently 120 to 130 degrees. Eventually, the humans were allowed to move further north. The climate was much more comfortable there, in the 60s
For the Celsius crowd, that's like 44, 45.
and 70s, and it was actually green. This environment didn't suit the Evens, but the humans loved it. After 13 years, the mission ended and 8 of the 12 team members returned. 308 died on the way, and a pilot died in a vehicle crash. 2 team members decided to stay on Serpo. When the remaining team members returned to Earth, they were quarantined and debriefed for an entire year. They were given new identities and large cash bonuses. 6 team members retired, and 2 returned to active duty. Most of the team developed illnesses due to the high dose of radiation they received on the planet and died pretty young. Colonel McKeever, the last surviving team member, retired to Florida. He passed away in 2002, but he leaves what is perhaps the most important legacy in human history, a 3,000-page report detailing every aspect of traveling to and living on an alien planet. Yet there are no monuments to him, no statues, no schools or streets bear his name. Colonel McKeever volunteered for this dangerous mission not for personal glory, but in service to all Americans and the entire human race. Maybe one day he'll be recognized as a great man, but sadly, that day is not today.
Still unsure as to what benefit humanity got out of this. I mean, having a few people die and get human DNA or human bodies crushed up and then stuck into cloned bodies, and yeah, sure we'll find out in a moment.
The Project Serpo story has become legendary in the UFO community. It's firmly part of the lore. But is it real? To get to the truth of the Serpo story, there's a lot to unravel, and there are a couple of theories. The Project Serpo saga began in November 2005 when someone named Request Anonymous emailed Victor Martinez, who ran a UFO mailing list. Anonymous said he was a retired US government employee who was involved in a special program. Over the next 9 months, he detailed the story you heard today. In the description, I'll link to a PDF of all his emails. It's 130 pages and covers every possible detail you can think of. The anonymous emails caused all kinds of drama. There was infighting, accusations, threats, and even a little bit of blackmail. The fighting all came down to, was Anonymous telling the truth? And if not, who was he and why was he doing this? After some excellent sleuthing from a couple of tech-savvy mailing list members, at least 5 separate email accounts, including Anonymous, were traced back to one man, the infamous Richard Doty.
Doty? This guy again?
Yep. If you've seen our episodes about Paul Benowitz and Dulce Base, you'll be familiar with the name. Doty was an Air Force intelligence agent who specialized in spreading UFO disinformation. He specifically targeted Paul Benowitz, an Albuquerque businessman who thought he was intercepting messages from aliens. Doty also used respected UFO researchers like Bill Moore to spread disinformation throughout the entire UFO community. 5 different accounts, including Doty's, were emailing from the same internet provider from the same neighborhood in New Mexico. Now, to be fair to Doty, he admits to being part of the disinformation campaign, but he also says that almost everything in the campaign was true. Roswell, abductions, underground bases, and even the Project Serpo intergalactic exchange program. He said everything happened. When confronted about the
This guy never quits, even when he's no longer part of the disinformation campaign.
IP address issue, he got very angry and said that he could spoof any IP address he wanted to. Well, if that's true, why didn't he? Because, in my opinion, before Doty was exposed, Doty didn't realize email headers contained IP addresses, nor did he know that IPs could be spoofed. Eventually, the Serpo story exposed what was called the Team of 5. Christopher Green, Harold Putoff, Richard C. Doty, Victor Martinez, and Bill Ryan. Several of them worked for the CIA and military intelligence. All of them contributed to the Serpo lore in some way. But did they create the lore? Probably not. Even though Richard Doty and the team of 5 propagated and added to the Serpo lore, a story about an alien exchange program has existed since the 1950s or 60s. In 2006, when Serpo was lighting up the UFO forums, a user named Chapman weighed in. He said he was formerly of the British Ministry of Defense and said he saw the Serpo files. Yes, the files were real, but the events described in them were not. Chapman said the original Serpo story was created by Alice Bradley Sheldon. She had a successful career as a science fiction writer under the pseudonym James Tiptree Jr. She published a lot of books over a lot of years and was inducted into the Science Fiction Hall of Fame. She also happened to work for the CIA. During World War II, she worked for military intelligence and reached the rank of major, which was very high for women at the time. After the war, she joined the CIA. In the early 60s, the Soviets had successfully convinced the US government that they had nuclear weapons hidden on American soil. The nukes were supposedly in abandoned mines near large American cities and could be activated by sleeper agents. This wasn't true, but it wouldn't be completely disproved until 1980. Project Serpo was a response to this piece of intelligence. The CIA wanted to scare the Russians into thinking the United States had acquired advanced technology and was becoming friendly with aliens, and the Soviets might want to think twice about detonating a nuclear weapon. At first, the Serpo story worked. The KGB was nervous, but the story became more convoluted and started to sound like...
To be fair, I can see why the Soviets would believe this story. I mean, they had their own fair share of strange sightings and whatnot that reports have been released on, so I'm sure that whatever is out there and is going on, if it is, then both countries will be trying to work it out and trying to get the one up on each other. Assuming that is the case, I would also imagine that's why neither country has revealed any information, because as soon as they reveal that they don't know, then that potentially puts them in a position where they are on the back foot. It seems to me it would make more sense for them to all keep quiet and have like another Cold War situation where they are just kind of hoping that they don't get obliterated by the other while they try and work out what technology they may have come across. Sorry for that spasm that I just had. I hope you enjoyed it.
Like a cheesy sci-fi novel. This made the KGB suspicious. Then the CIA added photographs to the story. The Russians didn't buy it. The Serpo story had been forgotten for years, but resurfaced when Richard Doty and the Air Force perpetrated a very aggressive disinformation campaign against the UFO community. The purpose of this campaign was to flood the community with more and more outlandish stories. Eventually, UFO believers didn't know what was true and what wasn't. Some UFO researchers turned on each other. It was chaos, and a highly successful intelligence operation. Then, over the years, Richard Doty goes from counterintelligence agent to UFO believer to keynote speaker at UFO conventions. A part of me wants to believe him, to give Doty the benefit of the doubt. He claims to this day to have nothing to do with Serpo. But if he's telling the truth, why is he making fake internet accounts? Why is he flooding the internet with the Serpo story? When Anonymous, aka Richard Doty, began posting about Serpo, the story was simple. But then it got more and more elaborate. Anonymous was even answering questions from the group. What this did was flood the group with outlandish information. The members didn't know what to believe and they turned on each other. The same operation Doty ran in the 80s, and the same result. There is no physical evidence to prove that Serpo actually happened. But there's also no evidence to debunk it. We don't know for sure if it was made up by the CIA. Whether you believe it's true or you believe it's fake, it doesn't really matter. All we have are theories. We do know that Zeta Reticuli is a binary star system, but it's what's called a wide binary system. The stars are a light year apart, so there's no way that photo is correct. Also, it's highly unlikely that humans could eat food on an alien planet. In such a different biome, literally everything would be toxic. But Whitley Schriever, Bob Lazar, and a few other whistleblowers say Serpo happened. Betty and Barney Hill are maybe the most famous UFO abductees of all time. They said the aliens who abducted them were from Zeta Reticuli. Are all these people lying? Are they just building on a story?
Many abductees say that the aliens are from Zeta Reticuli. Of all the different stories that I've heard, this one here seems the least likely. I mean, a lot of people claim this the whole being abducted at night and then being probed or whatever happens to them, that a lot of those aliens, the Greys as they were, are from Zeta Reticuli. But this is the only story I've heard so far where they supposedly got taken to the planet, which I just don't see as to why or how that makes any sense.
Story that has evolved over the past 60 years? Or is there a planet out there somewhere, inhabited by an intelligent race of beings, living in peace, caring for one another, thinking back fondly on the time the strange Earth creatures came to visit?
And eating plants that taste like paper.
And if the evens are real, you can't help but wonder, what does that alien-human hybrid look like?
Looks like Hicklefish's mum.
Today's episode is brought to you by one of the most unique sponsors we've ever had, Established Titles.
Oh, we're not going to do established titles. I also can't imagine that they're still on the established titles page, so I'm sure they don't mind me not going into that here. Anyway, that was fun. Definitely a story, for sure. I might actually just bring up another video that I saw today, which I thought was significantly more interesting. And yeah, can we just one moment? sorry. Bear with me. If you have any comments on that we just watched, let me know. I'd be interested to see what people think of that. Yeah, and also if you are a fan of the Y-Files, then what's your favorite video from the Y-Files? And if you're not a fan of the Y-Files, then go check them out. Their videos are real good. Yeah, I have my own Hecklefish plushie coming to me shortly, which I can't wait. Why is it so slow? Sweet. Back to it. This here is a UFO that was supposedly seen on the I-10 in Florida. This is a visually enhanced video. The original is pretty crap quality. But yeah, let's have a look. There's no sound. Yeah, so that was that. Don't want to play that there. Yeah, of all of the different UFO videos that I've seen in recent times, that one there is by far the strangest one I've seen.
So participating in today's
doesn't seem to, well, obviously everything else that we see is just random little things flying in the sky, whereas this here is supposedly a video of a UFO at ground level, obviously filmed off the side of the I-10. Came across it because I was listening to a interview with Chris Bledsoe, who has covert colonization of our solar system. What's that in relation to, Valiant? The original video that I played, or the quick short clip that I just played just now? Anyway, yeah, so I was listening to an interview between Chris Bledsoe and his name slipped from my mind, Richard Dolan, the UFO investigator, and he mentioned this video as he said it was the closest that he has come across that shows what he saw in one of his sightings. If you know the Chris Bledsoe story, then you will know that there's quite a lot of pictures and videos that he has on his Instagram that are all very low quality and just videos of orbs and whatnot floating in the sky. Yeah. Anyway, I think for the moment, unless anyone has any other questions or comments, that I'm going to finish up on this particular stream. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and give it 10 more seconds. Yeah, I will hopefully be back with you guys tomorrow for something else. I'm not sure. Best thing he's talked about is the Wingmakers. I will have a look into that, Valiant, and give me just a moment, I'll just write that down in my notes. story of the discovery of a time capsule stored deep inside a canyon wall over millennia near Chaco Canyon in North Minnesota. I'm not sure what NM stands for. New Mexico. I am dumb. Also, I'm from New Zealand, so I give myself that excuse. The project was then formally... sorry, I'll just read this out loud for anyone not reading the chat. So best and least talked about is the Wingmakers. This is an amazing true story of a discovery of a time capsule and stored deep inside a canyon wall for over a millennia near Chaco Canyon, New Mexico. The site was completely searched by a secret department of the NSA in 1973. The project was then formally brought under jurisdiction of the Advanced Contact Intelligence Organization, which organized the ACIO was an interdisciplinary research team to assess the exact nature of the site and attempt to discover additional artifacts or evidence on the extraterrestrial visitation. Thanks, Christopher, for laughing at me because I don't know. The creators of the time capsule referred to themselves as Wingmakers. They represented a future version of humanity who lives some 750 years in our future. Is that in relation to the idea that like the hybridization agenda thing is creating hybrid humans, and part of that are future humans coming back in time and from... Yeah, I don't understand all of the time stuff. It doesn't, I mean, yeah. But so essentially what you're saying, Valiant, is that the Wingmakers are humans. No, don't worry, Christopher. I know you're not laughing at me. Yeah. It is a true story. I'll have a look into it, Valiant. I'm guessing that there'll be information about it somewhere. I do love these things. So, oh no, sorry, everything's still there. I thought I closed down everything, which would have been an absolute disaster. One moment. Cool. Okay. I will have a look into that, Valiant, and I will do a video or a live stream on it. As with your comment on the very first live stream that I did, it is always a pleasure to chat with you, and you have always got interesting stuff to say. So I look forward to seeing future comments and suggestions and ideas and stories to look into from yourself and anyone else that watches my streams. Anyway, with that, I do have to shoot. I've got a busy rest of my afternoon before heading off to bed for work in the morning. So thank you guys all for tuning in. Have a wonderful night. You guys are all awesome, and talk to you soon. Bye for now.